The series began with Joan, who worked as an obstetrician at a hospital, and she was very skilled at her job. She was 40 years old and had no relationships at all until now, neither marriage nor even one-sided love. Her life was dry just like the hospital, to the point that the hospital director arranged a date for her with an acquaintance of his who was said to be a good man, but when she went to meet him, she found him to be a very rude person. His manner was terrible, and he told her to split the bill, so she decided to make him regret the day he saw her and treated him with the filthiest style known to mankind, and she made everyone in the place watch him. Then she paid for the bill herself and walked away. She left him, and the next day she met her friend and told her what happened. So she got upset and asked her why she rejected the suitor, as this friend was married and had 5 children who gave her a hard time. But she felt that her friend lived a miserable life and had to find someone to marry to become happy like her, or something like that. The important thing was that Joan had a younger brother named Mifuna, so who fit the proverb of the family that did not have. A troublemaker lost its rights, as he was a womanizer who did not work and was in a bad state and still lived with his father, Raphael, the employee, and his disabled mother, whose husband did everything for her. And this happened because of an accident that happened to her. A long time ago, when she was going to the hospital to bring Joan something she forgot at home, and despite the refusal of Joan to let her go down because of the rain, she insisted and went to her anyway, and unfortunately, a car crashed into her car, and immediately she entered the hospital, and the doctors amputated her legs. And since then, she saw that the world turned off in her eyes, and she became depressed and had no passion for life at all. And Joan remained living with the guilt of her mother feeling all the time that she was the reason for what happened to her, until she moved and lived alone. And currently her father decided to resign from his job so he could take care of her mother. And before he returned to his home, he went shopping to prepare a nice dinner for his wife to change her mood a little. And there he met a woman who kept walking behind him and chattering like an annoying fly, and he barely escaped from her. And when he returned home, he told his wife about what happened in his day, but she interrupted his words and told him that she dreamed she was on a white yacht in the middle of the sea, standing in the face of the wind, and what appeared to be a sweet dream was a bad omen for her. And she told Raphael that she was sad because this dream would never come true. Then she asked him if Joan had called today, but he told her that she was surely busy and would call them when she was free, and he was actually right. As she was sitting in the middle of the brood of children her friend had birthed and waited for them to sleep to sit with her friend, who complained to her about her mother-in-law, who refused to let her son cook. And when she returned to the apartment where she lived alone, far from her family, she got a call from Thusla, so reminding her of their parents' wedding anniversary. And this call was enough to disturb her sleep, so she could not sleep and went down to walk with herself, saying that this loneliness was her secret that no one could ever discover since. She went down every day in full elegance and laughed in the faces of people, and she entered the market and bought some drinks and noticed that there was a guy with his eyes on her in the place. So she got very tense and took her bag and walked away, and he was walking behind her. Even when she tried to run, he ran, and when she stood still, he stopped too. So she tried to make him worry a little and told him she was bringing things to drink with her husband. So he told her that he was just going home and had not come near her, and he entered his house, and she discovered that he was basically her neighbor, and she went up and saw him from the balcony of his house, partying with himself, and she felt that he lived alone, but was happy, unlike her, complete. While on the other hand, Raphael felt he wanted to make his wife's dream come true and went to book a trip at a discounted price in exchange for the fact that it was impossible to cancel the reservation or even get his money back. Then he went to hurry up to cook for their family dinner, and he chose the best dress his wife had, even though it was a bit tight on her, but it was the only one available at that time. And Joan had arrived in front of the house, standing hesitant to enter or leave, but her brother caught her and told her to get inside. And when she entered, she met her mother and did not even greet her, and they remained sitting in front of each other like statues until the food was served and they all sat down to eat. And the mother annoyed Joan with this marriage conversation and told her she wished to see her with a child, but Joan did not allow her to talk to her about anything at all and told her to focus on her dress that she squeezed into with soap. And the mother got annoyed by Joan's rudeness, and she made Raphael take her into her room, and Joan walked away without even saying goodbye to her. And this was the first visit in 6 months, and at that time her father told her that if he and her mother lived for 20 more years, then they would have lunch together only 40 times based on the situation she was in, and he asked her to increase her visits more. Then he entered his house to prepare the small cake and the tickets for the trip to surprise his wife with them, but he was surprised that she was not breathing at all and her life ended, and he broke down, not knowing what to do. The next day was the funeral, and a large number of people attended, but they were not very interested in their grief, and everyone was in a world of their own. And after the funeral ended, Joan went with her father while Tasma so remained with his girlfriend Ran, whom he fought with because of her short clothes that made people look at her, and Joan felt very guilty because the last time she fought with her mother, she treated her in a way that was not the best, and she thought there would be another time to reconcile with each other. At that time, her father got out of the car in the middle of the forest and broke down completely over the loss of his wife, while Joan went to her work very normally and tried to make life go on. Even if she was sad, for the world would not stop for her sadness, but she was very stressed and dealt with a patient roughly and told her she surely did not want to be the type of mother who loses her legs in a car accident and lives the rest of her life in depression and makes her children's lives bitter. She was, of course, talking about herself without noticing, and after she finished her work, she went out and called her mother's number, and Raphael answered and was surprised by her as she broke down and kept telling him, "I told you not to come, Mom, because of the rain, but you insisted on coming." So Raphael tried to calm her down and told her that what happened was her fate and never anyone's fault. Like this, she returned home not seeing in front of her from crying to the point that she forgot her home passcode and did not know how to enter. And at that time, she was seen by her neighbor Hun, who was the same young man who was walking behind her, and he tried to help her until her phone rang from a hospital, letting her know that something happened to her brother and she had to go to him now. And this happened because so saw his girlfriend going out with a colleague of hers. So he got very angry and jealous over her and went to fight violently until he slipped and fell, breaking his neck. At that time, Hyun took her and drove her in his car to the hospital, and they checked on him. And when he saw the young man who was with her, he asked her, "Who is this boy?" So she asked him for his name and told him that he was her neighbor and introduced them to each other. And Hyun then told him that they were in a relationship. Then she admitted to him that she was not married or anything and had told him that because she was afraid of him. And he told her, "I know you are a doctor in a hospital, and I know your height and weight too." And he told her he saw her on her date with the man, the bald one, who was her manager's acquaintance, and saw her while she was wiping the floor with his dignity. And he was also on a date by coincidence in the same place and was following her date more than his own, to the point that the girl who was with him got bored of him and left him and walked away. And she was very embarrassed that he saw something like that and tried to justify to him that he was a rude person with her, and that was not her real personality. And after they arrived, she thanked him that she had a respectful neighbor like him. So he told her that this neighborhood thing would not last long because he was moving soon and it would be very hard to meet by coincidence again. So what do you think? We make it not a coincidence. And they took each other's numbers and decided there were no more coincidences. And she called her friend and told her, "Help me. My neighbor took my number and we agreed to meet, and I am now dressing and going down to him." And then her friend and her husband were very happy for her because finally they would not see her lonely again, and that she started taking a step in her romantic life. And when she sat with him, she discovered that he was a man who worked in music casually and was 35 years old, and told her that he had a crush on her for a while, and every day he was watching her coming in and going out. And after that outing, she did not return his calls again at all without reasons. And he did not understand why she was ignoring him like that until he met her by coincidence in front of her house and asked her why she was blowing him off. So she told him that the matter had nothing to do with him, but she was the one who had a complex about human relationships in general. As for Raphael, he went to return the reservation of the trip he had booked, but the company refused to refund him anything because that was their initial condition, and so he was forced to go on the trip alone. And when he returned home, he gathered his children and told them about the trip, but So objected and told him, "The sadness for my mother is clearly visible in your eyes, really." So he slapped him twice because he spoke in a bad way and entered to isolate himself alone and found nothing to do. So he turned to Joan and told her, "And you, sister, do you not want to go on a trip too, since you just told my mother she was fat and the dress was bad on her?" And then she remembered the accident and what happened, and that her life was also turned upside down from that day, and she did not know how to return to herself again. And when she returned to her home, her friend called her to come spend time with her instead of sitting alone, but she found her speaking gloomily and telling her, "Come for what, as everything is gone." And she took herself and went to Hun's house and apologized to him for the way she spoke with him this morning and told him she needed a chance with him to see if they could continue together or not. So he was very happy with this chance and told her to come in and sit with him a little, and kept playing music for her all night until she slept like small children. The next morning, Hyun asked her for her opinion on his apartment, and she told him it turned out completely opposite to my expectations. I thought all musicians had messy houses with papers and cigarettes thrown everywhere, but I did not find it like that. And after all this, she left him and went to tell her friend what happened and told her, "This is a secret. Do not let anyone know that I am in a relationship." She told her sure, but with the first nurse who entered, she told her everything, and the topic spread, and the most famous single woman in the hospital was in a relationship. As for Raphael, he decided not to care about the words of any of his children and go on the trip, that he wished to go on with his wife, and he remained sad throughout the trip, sitting alone, not doing any activities other than checking on Joan and telling her, "The trip is bad, and I regret coming here." And he tells her, "Do not let your brother eat alone while he is sick. Go eat with him at this time." So was with his girlfriend, and she told him she was celebrating her birthday in a faraway place, although she wished to have a simple birthday at home, and asked him to throw her birthday party at his house and invite their friends since his father was traveling and no one was home. And at that time, he objected, but when he felt his girlfriend got upset, he decided to hang decorations and blow up balloons. And Joan walked in on him, and when she entered and saw the balloons, she told him, "The sadness and mourning are clearly visible on you, really." And she sat down to eat and received a message from Hyun telling her he wanted to see her since it was the first day of their relationship, and so saw her and told her, "And you are sad too. Congratulations on your relationship." And she finished her food and went to meet Hyun, and they spent a nice time together, and he showed her his studio and how he worked. The next day, the landlord of the house he lived in asked him to vacate it because he was going to rent it to someone else, and unfortunately, he would leave earlier than his scheduled time, and he told Joan to go up and make something for them to drink until his new roommate came to take him. And when she went up, she called her friend and told her he was leaving, and she was surprised by a girl coming to him whom she saw from the window and knew that his new roommate was a girl, not a man. So she got very jealous over him to the point that she told him to live with her in her house, as it was spacious anyway, and she lived alone, and he almost could not believe it and agreed to live with her. And when his friend came down, she discovered he was a normal man, but had long, soft hair, and she told all this to Hyun while they were hanging his clothes and told him she was jealous over him, so he was very happy with this jealousy. After that, she got a call from the hospital, and they told her there was an urgent birth case, and she had to be there, and she left Hyun alone and went to her work. And when she returned, she was surprised by her apartment, which became bright and organized, not like its habit, as it was always dark, and now only she understood what it meant to have someone in her life. And we return again to Raphael, who sat isolated on his trip until the trip manager insisted that she cheer him up a little and took him with them to the forest to walk. And since he was an old man and did not account for sports clothes to move comfortably in his trousers, tore a big tear, about this big. And at that time, the trip manager tied her jacket around his waist and covered him, may God cover her. And when they returned to the hotel, they met on the balconies by coincidence. And he returned her jacket to her and thanked her, and she offered to have dinner together, and he agreed. But everything he was doing reminded him of his wife, from the drinks to the food that was no longer healthy. And the trip manager saw the sadness in his eyes and offered him to go with them to ride the yacht. And indeed, he agreed, and the next day he rode the yacht with her. And they went to have lunch together too, and he started spending a nice time on the trip that he did not want to attend at all. While on the other hand, so it started the birthday, but things were not the nicest with him, and the apartment became a garbage dump, and he regretted doing this in the first place. And the next day, he went to his university in a bad mood and could not stand himself, but the doctor spoke to them in a bad way, so he got more annoyed. As for Joan, she was at her work, and she got a call from Hyun telling her he was waiting for her to have dinner together, but her nosy friend eavesdropped, and when she knew that they had not eaten yet, she asked him to come have dinner with them and meet her husband, and he agreed normally. And when he met the friend's husband, he found him very nice, and they got along well to the point that he told him, "Do not upset her, because my wife and I consider her our eldest daughter." And Joan and her friend were very happy that they would be friends. And when they returned, Joan threw a tantrum and told him that this was the most beautiful day of her life, to the point she felt she did not deserve this, and told him it had not been a long time since the day of my mother's death, and I feel I am living in a parallel world. And he consoled her and told her that surely her mother loved her just as she also loved her. And to change this gloomy atmosphere, Joan asked him what was the most memorable day for him, and the thing he remembered most, he told her, "The day of my son's birth." And at that moment, Joan froze and told him, "You lied to me." But he insisted he did not lie to her, because he was telling her himself right now. These men sometimes forget to mention strange things like that. And he also told her, "I was afraid from the beginning to tell you because of your reaction, as I really loved you and do not want to be away from you." But she told him that she hated the day she saw him and liked him. And at that moment he left and could not hear these words from her at all, and sent her a message telling her he would pass by to take his things in the middle of the week while she was not home, so as not to bother her. And the next day she went to her friend and her husband to tell them what happened. And her friend's husband saw that, as long as he was not married, then thank God. And also also that he was not the one who would raise the child, but her friend got very heated for her and told her delete his number, and tomorrow I will bring you the master of masters. After that, she got a call from the place of her mother's cemetery, and when she went with her brother, she was surprised that the place where she was buried turned out to be reserved for other people, and they were supposed to move her, and she moved her and wanted to call her father to let him know, but she could not say anything, so she tried to make so be the one to tell him, but he refused to ruin his trip, and they just checked on him, and he was happy on the trip with the manager and spending a good time, until he went in to wash his hands, and his mind hallucinated, and he saw his wife coming to tell him that she was happy for him, and that he looked good with the trip manager, and that she would not be upset if he got into a relationship, and he must now start looking at his life and forget her, and he was terrified and breaking down, as this was not a normal thing, this was a ghost, and he returned to the hotel quickly, and the manager was turning the world upside down, looking for him and not finding him, nor was he answering his phone, and she expected that he returned to his room, and she entered while worried and found him sitting curled up in a corner like that on the floor, and she tried to console him and told him, I feel for you. I was also always alone, and my husband was busy all the time and had promised me that when he retired he would take me around the continent, all of it, but he did not make it to retirement, and his life ended early, and at that time I decided to travel alone, just like you, but from the first day I felt sorry for myself because I was lonely, and after that I adapted and decided to be happy because life was still ahead of me. After that, she could not stay in all this gloom and took him, and they went down to attend the party that was going on downstairs, and he told her, after all this, I forgot to ask you about your name, so she told him her name was Young and asked him to dance with her to the song she loved, and this was their last day on the trip, and the next day when they returned to their country, Raphael found his children waiting and welcoming him, and they went home to have dinner together, and Raphael had agreed to attend a party with Young and the group that was on the trip, and they went to play games together and had fun, and nearly he would follow his wife's advice. As for Joan, she returned to feeling lonely again after Hyun had filled her life, and he was sitting with his friend who kept scolding him because he did not tell her from the beginning, but he did not know the right time to tell her at all because they were still getting to know each other, and he told him that he really loved her, and his friend suggested that he go talk to her again, but he was afraid. Then he found a call from her telling him she wanted to hear his excuse, so he went to her flying, and when she saw him coming running to her, she was sure she really loved him, and when she sat with him and heard his excuse, she knew that he was married at a young age and learned that his wife was pregnant, and he was afraid of the idea of becoming a father, but when he saw the child, he was very happy with him and was very pleased. But now his relationship with his wife ended, and there was no attempt to return, and he lived in Germany, but the child decided to live in Korea, and he told her that he would bring him so she could see him and get to know him and apologize to her, and she told him, I forgive you with all my heart, oh my heart. Then the next day, Joan tried to learn cooking for the sake of Hyun's eyes, and he made a surprise for her and brought Daniel, his son, and she met him as he promised her after that she went to visit her father and her brother, who was still freshly rejected by his girlfriend, who asked him for meat, and when he went to her with it, he found that their colleague had brought them very expensive meat, and at that time he was embarrassed to enter with his cheap meat and went to eat from it with a female friend of his in college, and the rest he sat to have for dinner with his father and Joan, and at that time Joan told her father that she got into a relationship with her neighbor, and he was very happy because she made it easier for him to let her know the news of his relationship too. But later, as it was not the time, the next day he went to meet Young and told her she encouraged him to be bold and let his children and everyone around him know about their relationship, and of course all this was talk in the air. As the first moment the guard of the place saw him, he ran away and told him, I do not know her, and she left her dog with him because she was traveling abroad and asked him to take care of it, and she called him on video call all the time to check on it. As for Hyun and his son, they took an apartment far from Joan's apartment to be at their comfort and furnished it, and Hyun asked his girlfriend to come visit them in the apartment so Daniel could get used to her presence, and she took a fish for him as a gift and went to them, and Daniel could not stand her at all and was annoyed by her presence and decided to make her hate. The day she came and spilled food on her clothes and took her wallet and threw it so she would not be able to pay the taxi driver, but she had seen him while he was taking it, and he said a word to her in German that she did not understand, but she translated it after that and discovered it was a very not good word at all, and felt her heart was broken and it was not written for her to be happy at that time, so got a job thanks to his college doctor, and he would work as an intern in journalism with a colleague of his and was very happy with this job, and called his father to give him the good news, and also called his female friend to thank her because she she was helping him all the time with his research, and decided to spend the whole day at his girlfriend's house waiting for her to return from practice of hers. And he got a call from his aunt telling him she was coming to their house, but he told her he was out, and she could go to his father as he was alone there. But the truth was that Raphael was not alone or anything. He went and brought Young from the airport after she returned from her trip and invited her for lunch at his house. So was spending the night out today, and the aunt dropped in on them and saw them sitting very happily and asked him, "Who is this?" And he did not know what to tell her, but she kept yelling in his face and did not stop. And so also, after he was sitting waiting for his girlfriend to make her happy with the news of his job, she returned and told him that she cheated on him today with her colleague in the training. And so the whole family had their hearts broken in one day. And when Joan went to her house, she saw Young leaving the house and entered to find her aunt standing yelling at Raphael and telling him that not even. Enough time had passed since her sister's death, and she swore to break his house and his car especially. After he told her that he loved Young, and she felt sorry for her sister who wasted her life and youth on him and his children, and she walked away, and the day passed, and Joan did not comment on anything that was happening as if she was not there at all. And she went the next day to get her wallet from the security guard at Hyun's building, and after she knew he was not home, she went up to Daniel to talk to him, but he told her he did not want to see her face at all or talk to her and closed the door in her face too. And Raphael, after what happened to him, gathered all his clothes and went to live with Young in her house to avoid any problems with anyone. And Young actually felt guilty about her sudden entry into Raphael's life and so on, and took herself and went to apologize to Joan for what happened and told her that all this was not intended or arranged. She just came at the wrong time. And at that moment, Joan saw herself in the same situation with Daniel, and that she saw him as a bad person while he did not live with his father and did not get enough of him for her to come and take him from him. And she went down and kept walking in the rain until she reached Hyun's house, and then he took her home, and she slept and had a fever from walking in the rain and woke up to find Hyun made her food to eat and take the medicine. And when she sat eating alone, she imagined her mother with her, telling her about the first day she returned from the hospital with so as a newborn, and she could not take her eyes off him. And when she allowed her to touch him, she went and put on gloves because her hands were cold, and she was afraid he would get cold because of her. And she told her that she was actually a warm and loved person as for why. So after he discovered his girlfriend cheated on him, he could not stay away from her, and from his great sadness, he went and refused the job opportunity that came to him and went to her house to reason with her. But he was surprised by her lover there, and they got into a fight, and he scratched up his face, and then went to the house of his female friend, who as soon as she saw his face became very sad for him and started crying. And when he asked her why she was crying, she told him that she loved him, but he was stupid and blind. And when he returned home, he found his father suggesting they go visit his mother's grave together. And when they arrived there, they found Joan present, and they finished and sat together, and Joan apologized to him because she did not speak on the day he was caught with her, and told him also, "I did not tell Elifariz so anything, and do not tell him. You two choose the right time." But he, of course, turned out to be like a reckless donkey and told him that he was in a relationship, and Joan acted like she was from Benha at that moment. But his reaction was not very big, and he understood the matter without hearing justifications from him. And when he asked Joan about Hyun, her boyfriend, she told him she was still with him, but it turned out he had a son. And from his shock at the sentence, he was about to take the car and go down into the agricultural lands just because he thought she married him. But she told him he was separated, and this son was from a long time ago, and God saved them. As for the son, Daniel, he was not putting food for the fish at all, and Hyun discovered that himself when he found he had not opened the fish food can even since the day she came. And when he asked him about the reason, he told him he did not like Joan at all, and asked him to break up with her or send him back to his mother again. After that, Hyun went to meet Joan and told her what happened, and she told him she wanted to talk to Daniel and that she could convince him. And indeed, she went to his practice, and before she spoke to him, he got hit and fell, and she went to defend him in front of the man who kept yelling at him, and that was it, and told him she was his mother, and treated the wound in his leg, and apologized to him for intruding into his life suddenly without permission or warning, and that she had many chances to ask him if he was annoyed by her presence, but she did not ask nor even care. And his reply to her was that he told her, "I told my father to leave you, but I regret what I said. Yes, I do not like you, nor can I stand you, but I do not accept my father being sad either." So she thanked him and invited him for lunch, and asked him, "Why did you name the fish Oscar?" So he told her that was the name of the child who bullied me in Germany, and that he hated him very much, but he would change the fish's name surely and apologize. To her, mother and Hyun saw them as they were returning, walking together and chatting, and was very happy with them. And he took her and drove her home, and she offered him to have dinner with her family, he and Daniel, so they could get to know each other, all of them, and he agreed. And when she arrived home, she was surprised by Raphael waiting for her under the house, asking her to meet Young on the basis that it was for the first time, and so on. So she agreed, and the next day, she went and met her, and was acting very naturally, and Raphael's worry about this meeting vanished completely, as for Milver. So he went back again to ask for the job he left when he broke up with. His girlfriend and the manager agreed to hire him again, and he sent a message to his friend to give her the good news that he was returning to work. Again, thanks to her, too, after God, of course. And when he returned home, he found his family and his father's lover in the house. Added to them were Hyun and his son, too, and it was clear that this family would return to being happy again, like before the mother's accident. And when Kensi saw the situation was stable, he discovered that he missed his female friend and kept ringing her. And when she did not answer, he kept looking for her in all the places where she usually was until he found her in her favorite restaurant and sat with her and told her that he always loved cutting her food for her and loved her way of eating. And the thought that he had not seen her for 2 days was driving him crazy, and that he finally discovered that he loved her very much. Well, why didn't you just complete it, man? Did we have to go get people like us? And now Daniel decided to find himself in drumming and had a concert attended by his father along with Joan, and they were very happy with him until they were surprised that his mother came to attend his concert. And when Joan saw her, she said, "What is this beautiful woman? Where will I go from her?" But of course, the shock was clear on her face, especially since she was telling her, "I heard a lot about you from Daniel." And before they spoke to each other, Daniel's friends arrived and were introduced to his mother and father. And when she felt like she was a third wheel, she tried to withdraw quiet, but Hun caught her and showed her the vixen, his ex-wife, who told him that Daniel's teacher wanted him inside, and he entered quickly. And she stood acting like a vixen towards Joan, saying to her, "You think you are beautiful, and your presence will make everyone present tense." So she told her, "I swear, I came all this way just to see my drummer son, so just leave it and come. Let's have dinner together." But she refused and went to have dinner with her friend, so she would not feel like a bundle of coriander between the boy and his father and mother, and sat, of course, as usual, complaining about her actions and telling her she was beautiful and pretty and young too. And Hyun was sitting with them in the most boring sitting of his life, wishing to get up and leave them, and Joan was walking and started to understand the difference between loneliness and solitude. Solitude, which a human chooses by himself and is happy with it too, but loneliness is forced upon her and is a painful thing. And when she returned to her home, she found Hyun standing there telling her, "Why don't you answer my calls?" So she treated him badly and told him she wanted to sleep, but he told her no. "Listen, I did not do anything wrong. Do not treat me as if I stepped on the hem of your dress." So she told him, "I know you did not do anything wrong, but I was standing like parsley in the middle of your son and his mother. And I looked very bad by the way you said like coriander a while ago. Never mind, there is a difference." And she felt she was a despicable person because of what she felt today. But he humored her and told her, "I'm sorry. You felt a bad feeling because of me, and the fight ended like that. Well, what will you do when you know that Hun's ex-wife decided to settle in Korea?" As for Raphael, he was planning to sell the house and go buy a camp to live in, he and his kitten Young. But he was afraid of the reaction of his children as soon as they knew you are right, Hajj, in your place. I would be afraid too. And the first anniversary of Joan's mother's death comes, and she calls her brother to confirm with him to be at home at exactly. And when they gathered, Raphael blew a surprise in their faces and told them he wanted to sell the house, and so objected and got very angry and saw himself as a burden on his father. But Joan was objecting quietly because in the end it was his house to do with as he pleased, but so did not accept this decision at all and packed his clothes and left. And at that moment, his father gave him a piece of his mind and hurt his feelings. And Joan got heated for her brother and took herself and walked away, seeing that they were a family of 4 members. And when the mother died, they became 3. And now her brother left, leaving them 2. And currently she also left, and Raphael remained alone. And you cannot call them a family after that anymore. And she was going home in her car until she got a call from Daniel and was surprised that his mother was the one speaking and kept being annoying to her with words. And from her shock that she was the one on the call, she remained standing in the middle of the street even after the signal opened and a man passed by her and told her, "This is what happens when women drive. You are driving blindly at that moment." She got very angry at his manner and from his girlfriend who was with him, who told her never mind and walked away. And she kept running after them until she reached them and told her, "Either apologize properly or do not waste my time and yours." And they got into a chase and kept chasing each other in the car. But they caught each other in the end. In the meantime, Hun was taking a pizza and and going to have dinner with his son, and was surprised that she was in the house, and they beat him to it and ate without him. Of course, he was upset about the money for the pizza, but no problem. He went down to drop the mother off, and she told him, "Of course you wish to know why I returned to Korea again. Do you think I will tell you I cannot live without you? And all this talk, right? No, of course, I got into relationships with many people who wish for my approval. But in the end, I do not want anyone but you. And I want to make a new chance for our relationship for the sake of Daniel, of course." And as for Raphael, who is about to have his eye poked out and sell the house, he really put it up for offer. And the buyers came to him and kept talking about the modifications that they would do in the house. And at that time, he remembered when he was still fixing it up with his wife, and that all his memories with her and the children were in it. And he saw the buyer kept saying, "I will tear down this wall and remove these doors." So he got angry at him and kicked him out, told him, "We do not have houses for sale. We stopped this business after that." Joan thought of a good idea instead of selling the house. She decided she and Hyun would live in it together and pay rent to their father and rent out their houses. And anyway, their father wanted to live in a camp, and so moved and lived with a friend. And this was the only solution that satisfied all parties. And Joan was very happy because she returned to live in the house she was raised in. But it is known that nothing passes easy like that. As the next day at the hospital, she found the vixen M coming to her and telling her, "I heard a rumor that you and Hyun are living together." Of course, it is not a rumor or anything. She knew from Daniel, the father of the loose tongue, while he was chattering with her at the mother's standing in the kitchens, where all our secrets come out. And of course, M knew how to make her blood boil and told her that she might get back together with Hun and was confirming with her. I mean, did he propose to her or not yet? So she tells her, "I swear there is nothing yet, but when we sign the marriage contract, you will be the first one to know where it is." And Joan returns home and remembers the memories of the first time she met Hyun, and they were joking with each other and very happy. And at that time, M came to him by coincidence and discovered that she was a very skilled player, and her manager admired her playing. And of course, out of courtesy, he took her after work to invite her for dinner. But when he found her bringing up the past, he told her that his girlfriend was waiting for him for dinner, and he had to leave. But she very selfishly held on to him and told him, "Well, what about me, who wants to return to you, and we raised Daniel together?" But he told her that everything she was talking about was just memories to him, and he did not even need to remember them. And when he returned home, he did not find Joan there, and it was raining heavily, and she did not even have an umbrella, and he was very worried about her. And as soon as she returned, he told her, "Didn't you take the umbrella with you?" She told him, "Oh, my headache, what would the umbrella do for me?" And he saved himself before she scolded him for lying to her and told her everything that happened on his day. And she told him, "I know I came to you at the studio and saw you." So he found himself telling her, "Look, I thought a lot, and I hope this is the right time to do this. Whenever you need me, you will always find me with you. Will you marry me?" And he took out a diamond ring and wanted to put it on her, but she closed her fingers and did not agree. And when they went to visit her friend and her husband, the husband told Hun that she did not reject him like that. They would get married. She was just tense, or he chose the wrong timing and when. He sat with her. He told her he would always remain waiting for the right moment when her heart opens to his choice with full confidence. And she thanked him for being an understanding person, and may God distribute some of him on the ration cards. As for Raphael, who was acting like a carpenter sitting on the roof of the house fixing the broken part until he broke his hand, and his children worried about him and came to visit all of them and brought Daniel with them. And he was very happy with their presence and went to fish with Hyun, and Joan was sitting watching them from afar and imagining if her mother was with her and telling her, "Why are you hesitant about this marriage? The boy is sweet and like the moon and gets along with your father too." And she felt she was convinced by these two words, and her look at Hyun changed completely, and she stood in the middle of this whole family gathering and told them that she and Han would get married soon. Of course, did not believe his ears and wanted to pick her up and spin around the forest with her from the overwhelming joy. And she was also happy and staying up late with all the girls in the camp, and went out to buy a drink and found her father and her brother sitting alone. So she sat with them and found her brother telling them about the 5 million won conversation to become a university professor, and they encouraged him, and he went and actually withdrew the money to work at the earliest opportunity. And when Raphael married young, and they were living a happy life together, until one day she was sitting drawing in the sun and disappeared suddenly into thin air. Raphael turned the world upside down for her until night fell, and he barely found her after turning the forest upside down, and she did not remember anything at all except that she had to go home and had forgotten where it was. As for Hyun and Joan, they were planning for pregnancy after they got married to give Daniel a brother. But since Joan was an obstetrician, she worried because of the delay in pregnancy and saw that they needed to do tests, especially since she was now 38 years old and the rate of conception might be weak. And when they went for a checkup and did tests. They found her sleep was good and nothing wrong with her, but Hyun was sterile, meaning it was impossible for him to have children. But he told the doctor he already had a child, but she confirmed to him that he had a congenital defect, meaning not even that he used to have children and had a problem, so he stopped having children. No, he was born like this. So to be sure, the only decisive factor in the matter was the DNA. Is Daniel his son, really or not? But Hyun refused to believe anything he heard and did not even want to confirm if Daniel was his son or was afraid he would turn out not his son in the end after all this, and asked Joan never to tell anyone anything of what they heard. And she did actually promise him that, but she could not hold herself back here. The question then, in front of M, who came to her specifically when she found out she was going to marry Hyun, and told her on this happy occasion, I will move even saying the same yours to be close to my ex-husband so we can get back together to raise Daniel together, and he would not be away from his mother and father. So she got angry at her and told her no. Tell me seriously. Then I swear, is Daniel really Hyun's son or what? So M slapped her on her face and told her, are you doubting me? Your day will be unforgettable. And asked her, did Hyun say that himself and deny his son? And whoever sees her like that would say, this woman does not miss a prayer. But Joan was truly in the wrong, frankly, because she exposed the secret that Hyun told her not to tell anyone. And if he knew, he would destroy her. And the door they promised to close, she opened herself and brought ruin upon herself. And Hyun did not even have time to recover from the blow that Daniel was not his son. To endure a blow like this again as 2 against 1 is not manly. Oh, captains. The next day, Joan goes to her work, very normally because she loves her work and has never wasted a day without being there. And she gets a call from Daniel. She gets startled and answers quickly because she thinks he found out something, but finds him wanting to meet her, to tell her about the girl he loves and suspects she loves his friend. So she tells him, may your house be destroyed. You left your father and came to tell me, why don't you tell your mother? So he tells her he is more comfortable talking with her and feels she understands him and keeps his secrets. And he has another reason too, which is so his mother does not feel lonely. As for Raphael, who was worried about Young, he took her and they went to get checked and be reassured, but were surprised that Young had Alzheimer's and it was still in its beginning but developing very quickly. This man does not keep women alive, by the way, and because of what was happening, he was going to go crazy. He kept crying in his car, not understanding why this was happening to him, but he said thank God for everything and returned home to seek comfort with his wife in front of the fire and warm up and remember their memories together before she forgot them. As for So and his female friend who became his lover, she worked in writing and was close to achieving her dream and publishing her own book, and she had called him to go out together and she bought him a suit as a gift to wear to work so he would look a bit decent, and they went out to sit in a place together, and he received a message from the bank, specifically the first installment of the loan, and we know he took a specific loan of 5 million won to get employed and was supposed to start paying it back in installments. At that moment, he carried the worry because he was still newly appointed, and where would he get the money for this loan at this time? Hyun was at his work, and gloom and worry were riding him from head to toe, and he returned to smoking too. You see that? Was sitting opening her memory book of her and Hyun, and watching from when they first got married until they had Daniel, and got very angry at the 2 words. She took in her side from Joan, and got up and smashed the fish tank she had bought for her son, but she got injured and hurt very badly. And at that time, Daniel took her to the hospital and called his father, and he stayed with her at the hospital until he was reassured about her and called Joan and told her he would be late today because he was with M at the hospital, but M refused to stay overnight and returned home the same day, and he went to drop her off, and there he saw their memory book, and his eyes teared up. So M said to him, what are you looking at? Aren't you saying he is not your son? Or is she making things up from her head? So he was shocked by what he heard and told her, I wish to hear from you that Daniel is my son. So she told him, you do not need to hear anything from me. When you saw him in the incubator, the first day you told me you were sure he was your son because he was a carbon copy of you. And at that moment, he did not reply to her and returned home to Joan and went in and broke the bathroom mirror from his shock in her. And she woke up to that sound and went in to check on him. And when she saw him in that state, she knew that M told him what? She had messed up, and he kept asking her why she did that when she promised not to tell anyone about this Daniel conversation at all. So she approached him to treat his hand. That was injured from breaking the mirror, but Hun refused to let her even touch his hand and pushed her away and told her, justify to me what you did and give an excuse. But she had no excuses. She just wanted to burn M's blood, and that was it, and kept apologizing to him. So he left her and walked away. So she decided to take a step back from everything for herself. The next day, she did not go to her work, and he worried about her very much, and her friend kept calling her until she knew her place. Finally, she was sitting in a cafe alone and drowning in her sadness, and when her friend asked her about what was happening with her, she refused to talk as she was burning burned by the soup now, and told her she had a fight with Hyun only and was thinking of breaking up with him too, because this time she was the one at fault, and she went out and threw her ring that Hyun bought and slept in the middle of the street. As for Raphael, he woke up to news like his face and discovered that his friend whom he met on the trip, his life ended, and he did not want to tell Young anything, so she would not be upset and insist on going with him, and have the rest of their colleagues see her in this state. And Raphael lied to her and told her he had an errand in Seoul. He would go finish and return, and went himself to attend the funeral. And when he was late and Young worried about him and went out to wait for him at the start of the street, he told her he missed the last bus and would come in a taxi in a bit while she saw him sitting outside, and left him so as not to bother him at this time. So's girlfriend was seeing her book that was released today in the bookstore, and her colleagues agreed with her that they would celebrate after work today, and she wished So would be present with her to share her joy, and kept sending him messages with the address to come, and kept waiting for him, but he blew her off and did not answer her. And when she finishes her evening and goes out to leave, she is surprised by a Faifong, so operating his car as a taxi and looking for passengers. So she rides with him, she and her colleagues, and in the car, her colleagues ask her why. Her boyfriend did not come to their celebration as they did not know that he was the driver, so she told them that he was busy because he became a university professor and was not free anymore. And after he drops them all off, she fights with him and asks him why. He was doing this so he told her that he needed money for his job and to be suitable for her since she was a successful person and he was just a useless driver, and that he did not even want to congratulate her on her success. And every time she received a congratulatory call, he felt annoyed as if he was a nobody living with her in the house, and his girlfriend thought he was doing all this to get away from her. So she tells him, just say it, break up with me, and get it over with, instead of your petty moves, and she leaves him and walks away. And as for Hun, whom time has destroyed and no one visits him, he remains waiting for the DNA for him and his son, and goes to do the analysis and waits for the result impatiently. And when he goes to receive it, his heart does not allow him to see it, and he tears it and throws it in his desk drawer and walks away. And she sees them by chance and deduces that they were DNA analyses. At this time, Hyun went to take Joan, who was sleeping in the street, and her friend was with him, and kept telling Hyun all the way that Joan was foolish and poor and loved him and all her life. She used to come to her and tell her everything new in her life, but since the day she met him, she no longer told her anything, and this did not annoy her. On the contrary, when he called her to check on Joan, she was very happy that he cared about her even while they were fighting together, and he starts to feel remorse for the way he treated her, and finds the ring she threw and takes her home and puts it on her even while she is sleeping, and stays beside her all night until she wakes up and apologizes to him again and thanks him that he held on to her despite her terrible mistake. At this time, Daniel comes breaking down and tells Hun, so after all this, you did not turn out to be my father, and tells him that his mother will take him with her to Germany and he will not come back again, and that he was very happy with the period he lived with him as a father and how much he loves Joan. So Hyun tells him nothing will change. Do not be afraid, you are my son and I am your father, and I will stay with you always, since he would not have a chance to be a father once again, and decides to spend the day with them, and ignores his mother, whom they find bringing the police and raiding them and telling him, why are you taking my son, and takes Daniel and leaves. After that, we find Raphael took himself and returned home and did not find Young there, and kept searching for her like a small child and did not find her. So he goes to report her disappearance at the police station and tells them she has Alzheimer's. And when they review the cameras, he discovers that she had seen him while he was lying to her and telling her he did not ride the bus yet, and she thought he got tired of her or bored, and that was why she ran away from the house to relieve him of her, and he is breaking down over her absence and is still searching for her too with the police while she sits in a care home, and the police manages to determine her location, and he goes to her immediately and asks her to return with him, and she agrees because honestly he looks very messy without her at this time. So went to return the money he had taken as a loan to get the job, and told his manager, I will not buy a job with money, and took his money and returned to his girlfriend's house, who had an interview on the radio, and entered the house right after him and found he bought a copy of her book and sat reading it. So she tells him, now you are reading it. He told her, no, you really deserve a prize for the book. It is nothing short of wonderful, and congratulates her and apologizes to her for what he said, so she would not call him a mule or something, and they reconcile and and become sweet as honey and go to have lunch together too. And the next day, Hyun and Joan are bidding farewell to Daniel at the airport for the last time, and he takes Hyun aside far from his vixen mother, and Daniel told him, "I was happy all this past period because of you." So he told him, "Do you just remember to tell me this? Now come into my arms, my son, my love." And the next day, the whole family celebrates with each other Young's birthday, and Raphael notices the masterpiece renovations Joan made in the house and the new photos hung next to the photo of their mother, which made her happy. And before they blow out the candle, Young decides to upset them all and tell them the news of her illness. Is this really the time? And everyone is shocked and gets very sad for her, especially from her words as she tells them, "A time might come when I forget you all." At that time, Joan consoles her and looks at Raphael, a look saying, "You wore out too and want plastic wives now." And we learn after that, so worked as an announcer in the weather bulletin and became successful too and does not need anything. Finally, and Joan thinks she and Hun should adopt a child and raise him with each other. And Raphael encourages them and tells them that they will surely succeed. And Joan goes to walk in the same place she walks in all the time and says to herself how happiness is quiet and misery is loud. And by this logic, misery resembles loneliness greatly. And the feeling of loneliness means that we want a certain thing that has not been achieved and we have not reached it yet. And you guys tell me if you managed to reach quiet happiness or are still in loud misery. And with this, we have reached the end of our series. See you in another summary. Goodbye.